Joining me now is Duane Rankin of the Arizona Republic. Duane, thanks for spending a couple minutes with me. I know you're at practice, so I won't keep you too long, but I wanted to check in with you just to see the hysteria kind of around Kevin Durant's arrival. How would you describe what it's been like since he's been there?
It's been insane. DeAndre Ayton put it best. He said it's Broadway has made it to the valley. Like he said, that's what it's been. It's been like, you're talking about one of the greatest players ever who wanted to come to Phoenix in the summer, but it didn't work out. And then lo and behold, he makes it before the trade deadline, and it just changes everything. This team went from a playoff team that, could make some noise, but wasn't really someone you thought could win a title to now instantly with him, they're favorites to at least to get to the finals. So that's how much things have changed in fan base and obviously the team itself. They're excited, happy for him being there. Last night was just a perfect example. The team was very amped up before the game and played fairly well. And then Durant, when this just shows you where he is at his level. Like he missed 5 shots, he went 10 of 15, and he said, "I shouldn't have missed 4 of them." And the other one, he got 1 blocked. So the other 4 that he is talking about is other than the one that got blocked. That's the level he's at, and that's why the Suns are considered what they're considered in terms of being a team that can win a championship.
Is that an unusual feeling in Phoenix to have a player of that caliber?
No, I mean, you go back to history, obviously Charles Barkley, you're looking at Steve Nash, 2-time MVP. So they've had great players. But this is something that, it was a situation where he's won championships. That's something that Barkley and Nash didn't do. So that's the difference. And so when you're coming in and, his pedigree and what he's been able to accomplish, 3-time gold medal winner, an MVP winner, 13-time All-Star, one of the 75 greatest players at the 75th anniversary team. So when you add all that up, he is someone that, the way it came in, when you just think about it, like this is right before the trade deadline. They bring in a new owner, and then they swung for Kyrie and missed, and then they swung for Kevin Durant and hit. So this is all like a sudden, and it's like an instant buildup. And so that's where it is. And then when he wasn't playing, he was working his way conditioning-wise with the knee. That just added to the anticipation. When is he going to play? When is he going to play? So now that's over. So now it becomes, how do they build off of this?
If you're a fan in Phoenix, how excited are you about the new majority ownership and some of the decisions that they've made, some of the things that they're doing? I mean, there was a little bit of energy, you could argue, before Kevin Durant came into the mix. And now, like you said, anything less than a title might be deemed a disappointment.
Well, the fact that he got approved before the trade deadline was huge because they couldn't make major moves with the interim owner without the approval of Robert Sarver. So once Ishbia became the owner, once he got that final approval right before the trade deadline, and that allowed them to basically just go forward with what they've gone forth with since he's became the majority owner. So he's a young guy, enthusiastic guy, been wanting a team for a long time and finally got one and then made the biggest splash in free agency in years. So he hit the ground running. That's the safe thing to say.
Kevin Durant's performance obviously speaks for itself. Where would you rank he and Devin Booker in terms of tandems in today's NBA?
I mean, they're right up there. I mean, if you're just looking at, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is obviously one. And you have to throw Kyrie and Luka in there, even though they haven't figured out how to play together just yet. Those are 2 of the most talented players in the league. Healthy LeBron James, healthy Anthony Davis. You look at those 2. But in terms of 2 perimeter players who can get their shot anytime they want, can't be guarded one-on-one, able to create for not only themselves but for their teammates. Booker is coming into his prime. Durant is still in his prime. There's kind of the excitement and the energy that's going on with the team. Then they're right up there. One game isn't going to make me go, oh, they're the best. No, I need to see more. But as of what I saw last night, with the way Durant scores with such ease, and doesn't have to force shots to score. And then Devin went for 37 because he was so amped to be out there with Kevin Durant. He took his game to a high level, against the Hornets. So, and again, against the Hornets, okay, you want to see them against some of the better teams in the league. We're talking Kawhi, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is another one of those tandems that you have to look at. But James Harden, Joel Embiid, I can go on, but they're up there. That's for sure.
You bring up a good point about the quality of competition in his debut and also the fact that he's coming back from injury on limited minutes. How long do you think this rotation, how long will it take for them to gel? And do they have a definitive starting five?
Oh, well, I mean, right now, Josh Okogie is the fifth starter to go along with DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. Torrey Craig could easily be in that role at some point. Monty Williams talked about it would be based on matchups, but Okogie's been playing so well, it was hard to deny him the starting spot. So that seemed to be a no-brainer. And he didn't shoot the ball well, made hustle plays, but that's going to be key to see wherever they start, how they fit with the other four guys. Even Devin Booker said after the game, he was saying he told Josh, hey, you got to be aggressive. No matter who else is out there with you, you have to be aggressive. So wherever that fifth starter is going to be, being aggressive is going to be key, whether it's catching and shooting it, catching it and putting it on the floor and trying to score, making a play. Can't just be someone that's just sitting out there, because now it's 5-on-4. And even though you're looking at the four other guys being great offensive players, it's still 4-on-5 if the fifth guy isn't trying to score. And so that's their point they've been making to Okogie. And so I'm curious to see how he responds to that with a few more starts under his belt with that group, because it's not easy. I mean, you're looking at trying to figure out, you got a point guard and Chris Paul was one of the best to ever do it, two premier scorers, and a big man who can score. So it's not easy to get in where you fit in, but he's going to have to figure it out a little bit better than he did last night, that's for sure.
What has Chris Paul said about the addition of Kevin Durant? Because you mentioned some of the great players that have come through Phoenix that haven't won titles, and that was obviously the big knock, on Chris Paul. A lot of people willing him to that trophy. Do you get the sense that he feels like the door is open again for him to finally do that?
Well, it's interesting because when Chris Paul came, he taught the team how to win. They didn't understand it. They didn't know the process. They didn't understand the grind of it. He came in and his job, teach these guys how to win, and he succeeded in that, and basically getting them to the finals along with Devin Booker. And obviously they had a great team, but Chris Paul was the catalyst, and then have the disappointment of last year having the best record in the league, and then coming up short, and then not even making it back to the finals. Before Kevin Durant got there, they were talking like, hey, they got a good team, but once with Durant in now it's like, oh wow, I got a chance again to win a championship. A legit chance. So it's going to be key for him figuring out his role in this too, because he's a guy used to having the ball in his hands. Now it's going to be more in the hands of Durant and Devin. So I'm curious to see how Chris fits in. He's going to have it, but not as much as he had it before throughout his career. So that's going to be huge. But it's an opportunity. He knows, and listen, nobody wants to win a championship more than Chris Paul. So he's down for whatever they got to do to make that happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point in his career, with being so desperate to get that title, do you think he'll be comfortable taking a step back and letting those two guys have the ball a little bit more?
Well, I mean, he's been playing off the ball. That's the thing, like Chris Paul's been playing off the ball a lot this year, more than he has before. So this was before Durant got there. So he should be used to that part. And look, he's your best passer. And he's your best decision maker. So he will have the ball, just not as much, because Durant and Devin obviously can create for themselves, and it's just smart to have those two handling the ball. But Chris will have it, and that's going to be unique on Monty Williams. How does he spread this out? How much do they run pick and roll? How much do they just spread it around? How much do they post up Durant and run offense through him? How much is it through Devin? So he's got a lot of decisions to make in a short amount of time. And so, it started last night in terms of actually on the floor, but they've been working for a couple of weeks since Durant got there on how to make this work. So, curious to see how they carry it out for at least these next 5 to 10 games. And I'd say with 10 games left, should have an idea of what they're going to be moving forward going into the playoffs.
What do you think Monty Williams' biggest strength is as a coach? Because you're right, this is a difficult puzzle to put together with the playoffs already kind of on the horizon. I mean, is it the fact that he trusts Chris Paul as that veteran leader that's taught the team how to win? I mean, what does Monty bring that other coaches don't bring?
Well, in this situation, he got a relationship with Chris Paul and with Kevin Durant. That goes back to USA basketball. And he coached him in Oklahoma City as an assistant. Him and Kevin Durant are from the same county, Maryland. So the ties were there. He spent a lot of time talking with Kevin Durant. And he is already taking pressure off Kevin Durant by basically saying, I'm not asking you to lead. I'm asking you to be yourself and then just go play basketball. That's a huge burden off of Durant's shoulders. He can just come in and just play, not have to worry about that because in Monty's mind, Chris Paul is a leader. Devin Booker is a leader. So he's even talked about Monty himself needing to be, he's a leader. So those are the things that help this situation right out the gate. And then you can figure out, when does Durant infuse that part of who he is with the group. But some situations he will have to lead where they're in a spot where they got to make a play or they got to set up an offense or get a defensive stop. He will be that guy that will have to encourage and support guys. He does it, but it's not in that general leadership way that Chris Paul does it. So it's probably a good yin and yang if you really think about it, because Durant is on this end and Chris is on the other. So it may work out better in that way that Durant didn't have that pressure to have to lead.
Yeah, I think that's great insight. That's something that I didn't think about, but makes a lot of sense, especially with all the scrutiny that was on him in Brooklyn and living in the New York market and covering the implosion of that team. I mean, a lot of people were pointing to him for answers when Kyrie was floundering a little, trying to figure out what he was doing. Which player on the roster do you think will be benefited the most by having Durant in the mix?
All of them. All of them. I mean, every last one of them are going to benefit. I can't really point one out. I think the Ayton-Durant dynamic could get interesting because Ayton, he's even told me, he was like, this was the guy that I played 2K with, and now I'm playing with him. And I don't mean like necessarily on the floor. I mean like motivation. I mean like inspiring. I mean like Durant's the example. And Andre Ayton already said that Durant was getting in the workout early, and Ayton thought he was at the gym early, and Durant had already got his workout in. So he's like, I got to get to the gym earlier. So that right there is putting Ayton in a situation where, he has to, there's another level that he's seeing Durant works at and plays at, and that may inspire him to get to that point on a consistent basis. He's had great games, but consistency has always been his thing, and so Durant could be that fuel to help him take his game to another level. I think that dynamic is very interesting.
That's interesting, and I'll get you out of here with this, Duane. You're up close to the team. I know we're just getting our first kind of look at what the addition of Kevin Durant could mean, even though it all looks pretty good. At this point in your mind, are they the favorite to win the championship across the entire league?
No. I mean, we're talking one game. I know that it's, on paper they look great, but Boston is something to deal with. Milwaukee is something to deal with. And Denver is pretty darn good. Memphis is young and hungry and got some but you could even go the Clippers and the Mavericks in the West. It's going to be a chore to get out of the West. Mm-hmm. And obviously Golden State as well. It's going to be a chore just to get out. Once you get out, if they out, then talking about Milwaukee, Boston, possibly Philadelphia in the finals, this is not an easy road. This is not hand them the trophy right now. No. This is going to be a major challenge for them to win it, even with Kevin Durant. So they got a lot of work to do, but Wednesday was a good start for them.
It's a fascinating story. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate you being with us.